this is how I find some valuable sources for the research, for the Bible study that I'm doing. A few ways, things that I think about as I'm looking for good sources. In this, we'll look at Hebrews 9, the study we just did. It was fascinating, totally fascinating study. The way I approach it, first I read the chapter on my own. I follow the footnotes. I do the work to try to understand it in light of what we had read in Hebrews 8 and 7 and the previous chapters, generally to understand what's going on. And then after I've figured a bunch of stuff out on my own, I might take a look at some other scholars to see if there's anything I missed. And in this case, I missed a whole bunch of really fascinating stuff. So I dug a little bit deeper. And one of my go-to scholars is Dr. Michael Heiser. He publishes this Naked Bible podcast. So I go out to Hebrews 9 and downloaded the transcript, which is really great. So you don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can just kind of look through the words. And what I love about Heiser is he's not just making stuff up and spouting it out. He's generally quoting other scholars who've published their works. So I can then reproduce what Heiser's done. I can reproduce for myself what these other scholars have done to make sure that I understand what's going on. And I suppose, like a Berean, they're telling me stuff and I want to make sure it's true. And if I can't reproduce that the way they have, then there's an issue, something different that I've got to work out or maybe ask a question. In any case, Heiser quotes Hagner. I don't know Hagner. I've heard him quote Hagner a bunch of times. I don't know him. I don't know the work necessarily. But he's talking about the Septuagint and a Greek word that's used that we'll get into in a different video. But down here a little bit, I wanted to point out Hagner is, in this quote from one of his works, is referring to the King James Version, the New American Standard Bible, the Revised Standard Version, the New American Bible, and the NIV. So he's got 5 different Bibles quoted because some of them translate this Greek word one way, some translate it another way. And maybe neither is right, or maybe both could be right, or maybe it's one or the other. But here you've got scholars differing on the opinion of what the word means. So what I'll do is go into my Logos Bible software and try to look that up and see what the different versions say. So here I've got NIV, here I've got the NET Bible open, the NRSV Bible open, the NASB, and the King James Version. What Hagner quoted that I don't have is the New American Bible. I don't have that in Logos, and that's fine. I don't need it in Logos. I did want to show you where you can get things like that. So if I come out here to Bible Gateway, it's got a whole bunch of different Bibles in here you can access for free. It doesn't cost anything. And I think you can even see these things side by side. So Bible Gateway, that's one place I'll go to get other versions that I don't have. Then if I come back to this transcript again, I'm going to scroll down a little bit to a passage where Heiser references Guthrie and his commentary on Hebrews. So here we go. He's referencing Guthrie. Guthrie says some really significant things about Hebrews 9, and I want to understand them a little bit more. I also don't know Guthrie. I've heard Heiser reference Guthrie a number of times. So I'm going to come out to logos.com, which is the Bible software that I have, and I'm going to do a quick search on Guthrie Hebrews commentary. See what they might have out here. Okay, so there's a George Guthrie and there's a Donald Guthrie, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on Hebrews that have both of them. And I don't know these guys, so I'm trying to find out what it is that Heiser's referencing so that I can go look for myself. It could be either of these guys, I don't know. So what do I got to do? Thinking about it, I'll take, let's say, this passage out of the quote from Guthrie. I'll copy it, come over to Google, and look for that passage directly. And if I scroll down a little bit, there, Donald Guthrie in Google Books, and there's the exact passage that we just copied. It's there. So I'm going to click on this, And look what Google Books does for you. It brings up the actual passage sometimes. So I've got a little bit of context here. I might be able to read what I want to read right here. If I close this out, I get more information about the book itself, so that I can then go find that book if I want to read the whole book. Those are a couple of steps that I might take when I'm doing my research to find quality material in order to understand the passage and reproduce the research that I might be following.